Mm. Howdy. Is another morning, another day, another rainy day, which is good for me. Rainy days are my favorite. So I'm gonna be right back. I need to get some coffee. So I'll begin drawing in just a second. Alrighty. Back at it again. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's been rainy over here for the last like I don't know 3-4 days. So it's been good drawing weather. Something I am thankful for because I am a big proponent and fan of rain. All right, so let's get to it. I guess I can draw a little green check mark. Mission accomplished. I got the coffee. I guess part 2 of the mission is drink the coffee, because I haven't done that yet. Okay, I took a sip. I took another sip. There. You get 2 fun facts for the day. I'm someone who drinks coffee. It's one of my many abilities. All right, so what are we doing? Hopefully we know by now. This is the Master Shots Volume 2 challenge. So I should add in there. And maybe make the word challenge better written. Challenge. It's a book by Christopher Kenworthy, which is about cinematography and different shot choices. This one is specifically about how to do dialogue scenes and make dialogue scenes better and more interesting. So what the challenge is you combine 2 sections from the book, from Master Shots Volume 2, and then you have an interval timer that you set for like 90 drawings or something like that, at an average of like 15 to 20 seconds per drawing. And then you just do straight ahead storyboarding through a scene. This forces you to have to fit the 2 different prompts. So for instance, yesterday's was roundtable discussion scene in terms of the cinematography, that you need to do like a roundtable talk, and use that as an object for the camera to move around. And then along the line, which is when characters' backs are initially turned, and then something motivates them to look back so that we can see their faces, and the camera pushes in on them so then we can see them talk from an angle where their back is to us, but their face is still visible. Because if their face isn't visible, then what are you looking at? You know, that's not very interesting. So that was yesterday's 2 prompts. Yesterday's scene was all right. It was very all right. It wasn't great. This guy going down the staircase, taking a scarf off. Ooh, yeah, that was the concept art shot for the thumbnail for my YouTube channel. So he's going to this discussion / talk round table. He's like leaning on the table. Someone yells at him. He's like, "Hey, get off the table." This is like the big boss. We pan back to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, no problem, boss." Everyone's chattering, and the boss is like, "All right, thank you. I've gathered you all here today for some sort of evil meeting." And that's as far as we got yesterday. So something you guys may have noticed clearly is that my drawings are very, very rough. But this was like an example. Again, I use this for the thumbnail for Livestream of a slightly more cleaned up drawing. And so what am I trying to get at? What I'm trying to get at is that you can do very, very rough thumbnails. And if you already kind of understand the context, when you clean it up, then I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. Basically, I'm just saying rough drawings can still be useful to make great looking environments and scenes. Yes, this looks like nothing, But if I did another pass, the whole scene could look like this, which is way cooler. And so you don't need to jump straight into doing cool stuff. You want to at least have a good setup, good camera moves, good character acting that takes very little time. Then you can spend the time making things look a little better. I tend to not want to draw for more than like 5 minutes per cleaned up shot. But that's because I only draw at like this level. I do not like drawing more detailed than this, even though really I should. All right, cool. So I am going to get the random dice generator and see where this goes. Oh yeah, and the other day we storyboarded like this, which was via a thumbnail view, which honestly was pretty cool. I might do it again. So let's get the dice generator. You know, I should do a word of the day. Sometimes you need a reason to say sinusoidal on stream. Or cosinusoidal. Alright. Rolled 78, which is then 7.8 in terms of where it is in the book. This is offset walk. Okay. Neat. Offset walk. Okay, I haven't done one of these in a while. Okay, cool. Offset walk. Alright, I understand this. I've done these somewhat. I've done these, I just don't use them a lot. I think usually I do more of a crane shot. I don't do a on the ground version of this. Okay. So what do we got? Alright, 7.8. Offset walk. Very cool. So, an offset walk is when oh, my voice did a weird thing. It's when the camera is kind of tracking two characters. So here's two characters. They're doing a walk and talk. Walk and talks are also like my favorite thing to do. So we're already in a good space. And the camera is actually slowly getting closer to them, but not significantly. We're moving like across the street. So this is a street, you know. We're moving across the street. Here's like a storefront or something like that. And by the end of it, we are still I would say we're still in front of we're in front of them, and we're still a good distance. We're still kind of in a wide shot. And there's still an environment, everything happening. So the reason why in the book it's called an offset walk is because it's a walk and talk. This is a bus, by the way, in the background. So in the book, how it visually describes it, again, please buy it. It's a great book. Is normally for shots like this, you might, so here's your camera. Here's your two characters walking and talking. And they're going this direction. The idea is that the camera is just very slowly, in a diagonal fashion, moving closer to, or moving into their path, and keeping focus on them the whole time. You know, like that. And Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. This isn't a really fancy move or anything like that. It's just a method for setting up a scene, a dialogue scene. So you can make this shot last as long as you want, or it can be as short as you want. It can be really quick, though I think ideally this is a type of shot you do when you're trying to spend more time on characters talking. Because this is a good type of shot where if you wanted to set up an environment. So for instance, let's say this is another street and these characters are rounding a corner, and maybe this is a chase. You know what? We can actually do this in an action scene. So look, here's a big scary monster and these characters are rounding the corner, you know, and maybe they are running while talking, and there's like people in the foreground injured. I'm injured. Why did this happen to me? Why did Muto show up? And then as we get in front of them, theoretically what you could do is you could have more commotion and explosions and stuff in the background behind them. Maybe Muto even moves there as they continue to talk and run. Obviously this, at least the example in the book, is more aimed for dialogue scenes and dramas or comedies or something like that, and isn't intending to use this as an action scene. But this is also a great way to make sure that because it's continuing to be a wide shot with all this big negative space, that you can use that negative space to have an interesting environment. Yeah, so it doesn't need to be limited to just, oh, it's a camera moving like this and you need to keep it simple. It's like, no, you just, I don't know what I'm getting at. Just trying to say that you can be flexible with these things. You know, all these things are tools. You can use them as see fit for any genre for the most part. I'm trying to think of another example that you could, yeah, okay. I think I'm starting to think of some good ideas for how I might use it in a scene later today. Maybe there's like a big spaceship. It's the two things are blimp. This is like a dirigible. A Zeppelin. No, that's just blimp. It has the undercarriage that makes it blimp, right? Then it's shooting the city. Boom, 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 boom. Because, yeah. I was playing Iron Harvest the other day. Okay, let's roll the dice again and see where we go. Hopefully it doesn't counter everything. 108. That might not be a section in the book. We will see. I think section 100 only goes to 10.5. I don't think it gets to 0.8. Yep. All right. Let's roll again. Okay. 11.14. Or 11.4. Okay. This is interesting. This is a shot I think I've never done. Okay. All right, so we're doing section 11.4. This is, okay, we have offset walk. Man, this is Fate or something. And then we have the section offset angles. Okay, sorry, I'm having to read this section as I do it because this is once again a section I don't think I've ever done before in a book, because I went through this book years ago and I referenced it a lot, but I'm starting to believe that I completely skipped section 11 Hmm. Hmm. Okay. All right. So I think I understand this. Or what the book's getting at. So, hmm. This is interesting. Okay, sorry, I'm just double checking this because this is a section I've never done. Okay. Hmm. All right. Okay, I understand it. It's a pretty simple concept. This is more of a concept than a shot type. So for offset angles, basically what the book is saying is, hey, if you're doing dialogue scenes, and even if it's basic, make sure that characters, for the most part, aren't directly facing each other when they talk, unless it's really important. However, if you're going to have them kind of face each other while they're talking, at least make it so that they are not directly in a line. So, for instance, what it's saying is like, don't make it so simple that a character is just here, a character is here, and they're both facing each other, and they're both talking, and they're basically facing in the same direction as they talk. So what it's saying is that for an offset angle, is it's saying that offset at least one of the characters if you're doing this. So have maybe one character, you know, they're on a, maybe this person's like in a chair and have their arms folded or their legs crossed. And who knows, maybe they got their phone in their hand or something like that. So this person's facing this direction, and maybe this person is facing this direction. So this chair is this way. Let's see. So this guy's facing this way, and then this guy's facing this way. And then even if we were to like cut to a wide, so let's say this is high above them. You see this character here. I shrunk the brush down. I don't think it got any smaller. Whatever. So you see this character is here in his chair. Maybe they're on like a veranda or something like that. And this character is leaning forward here. And so even though they are still talking to each other, and maybe they'll even face each other every once in a while, maybe this is water or something like that. They're like there's ducks in the water or something like that. Yes, that is a duck. And here's a goose, a really large goose. Yeah, cool. So basically the idea of offset angles is, hey, if you're gonna have characters talk casually to each other in a natural environment and nothing super exciting is happening, at least try and make sure that you're doing something, that you're not doing this in the most boring way possible, which is just having both of them exactly in line at the same time, and then also looking at each other. So that's the idea. But yeah, in this type of shot, what the book is claiming is that the characters can still be looking at each other. It's just make it interesting in terms of their positioning. Okay, cool. So that's offset angles. Very neat. So how's this all going to come together? So we have offset walk, we have offset angles. All right, I just need to think of something. Cool. All right. Let's get a brush. It's the proper size. Need to make some new brushes. Brush 19. I swear, these brushes are not getting smaller. I don't feel like they are. Let's see, brush 8. Oh, yeah, they definitely got smaller. It's just me. All right. Well, 25 minutes in, as per usual. It's usually around the 20-minute mark to actually start drawing. All right, offset walk, offset angles. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. Okay. I'm also trying to think if it's better for me to draw this in a thumbnail view like this, or if it'd be better for me to draw it full screen like this. I'm just considering the options. All right, cool. Oh, let's begin. I think I'm going to do it this way again. Okay. Or will I? Two sides of my brain are fighting for control right now. I have a rough idea, like just now, thinking of how I want to do this scene. But it's just, how do I want to draw it? You know, I'm going to do overhead view. I just am. Alright, cool. Do I want to do the offset angle first or the offset walk? I think I'm going to do the offset angle first. Alright, got my interval timer set up. Alright. start with a glass. I don't know why. Start with a glass. Should be fairly pleasant. There should be people in the background slightly out of focus. And then that hand reaches for it. This is a hand. Trust me, I've seen hands before. It grabs it. And lifts it. Ooh. Very fancy technique we're doing here. So a whole bunch of people out of focus we can tell are watching something. And then we're going to cut in real close to someone who's watching something intensely off on screen left. So we have kind of a low angle, and then the glass goes up to their mouth. And they're still watching whatever it is. And they're drinking. He's thinking. He's thinking thoughts. Then what we're going to have is someone from screen left is going to walk in, and sorry, I want him to have a little bit more in frame, or more of his body in frame, and then he's not going to react, but someone's going to like place their hand on his shoulder as they're walking by. Hand should be bigger, but someone's gonna be walking by behind him, and they're gonna like say something as they're walking by, and he's focused on whatever it is he's watching, and he's just gonna go like, he's like, yeah, okay. We're gonna see the person's arm as they put it in their pockets or something convenient like that on the screen right. And he's gonna take another sip. He's watching the thing intensely. As the other guy walks away. Actually, we can use this motion of him raising the glass to also continue momentum for the other guy to leave, because they're both going left to right fashion. Actually, we can maybe even cut on action if we want to. So here he is drinking. This is going to be like an ultra wide angle lens. Maybe not ultra wide, but something. As he's drinking. I think he's a little too big in frame. It's a little extreme. Then we have the other guy. Yeah, I shrunk him down. So we have the other guy. Now he needs to be bigger. So he is sitting here. Then the other guy's... Is he gonna pull up a chair? What should he do? I'm trying to think what he should do. I'm gonna put a little table between them. Something like that. Oh, it almost looks like I drew a table here in this shot. Yeah, I'm gonna be lazy. He's just gonna sit at the other side of the table. That's gonna be my offset angle. This isn't gonna be anything fancy. So this guy's sitting here, And he's also looking at the same thing that he's looking at. And we can still see people in the background are all watching something. And we're going to put a railing here because I want to imply that they are somewhere relatively high up. So we're getting more information as the scene goes on as to like, what is this location? You know, where are these characters? Stuff like that. You know, I'm just gonna have him. This guy kind of. Yeah, this is why it would have been easier in the other view. I could draw a little faster. This guy's just like, yeah. You know what would be really crazy is if I actually just switch between both versions. So if I were to like right now. Alright, this is me going a little crazy. I'm sorry. We're switching aspect ratios. We're switching shot types. Yeah, I'm realizing it's just too slow for me to do that. I'm going to pause my timer. Here, I'm reconfiguring this composition. All right. Cool. I got a nice brush. He's like, yeah, okay, I guess. Yeah, see, now I can do this a lot faster. And this guy, like, looks at him. He's like, hmm? That means I can put these guys into another layer now. Alright. And then he's gonna, like, lean in. He's gonna be like, hey, dude. It's like, what are you talking about? And he's gonna like lean back in his chair, something like that. And this guy's gonna Gonna bring the drink back up to his face. I'm using this drink just as a device to keep him doing something. Yeah, perspective in this shot, not good, but I'm not too concerned. Maybe they're talking about something that sounds very nonchalant. And he's like, wow, look at that. Isn't it beautiful? And then we're gonna like cut to another angle. And now we're going to get like an actual wide shot and see what it is that they're looking at. It's going to be something like, okay, so here they are in their chairs. Here's this guy leaning back. I'm going to make them bigger. So you can see all the different people that are all watching this. There's people here. And man, there's a lovely tree or something. And other characters. Stuff like that. And there's some kind of again, spaceship dirigible. I don't know what we're dealing with here. Here's its engines. You know, it's a big ship. And it's, you know, dropping bombs on a location. Like they're watching like an orbital, or not an orbital bombardment, but like an atmospheric bombardment on a, you know, a location. As the ship goes by, you know, it's boom, 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 boom. So it's like, And so that creates casts shadows across the ground. So it's like boom, boom, boom. And so maybe there's a city or rebellion or something that's happening in the plot here. And just got wiped out. And so then now we'll cut in a little bit closer to these characters. And clearly this character who's drinking the glass is kind of, he doesn't know how he feels about this. I think he's like, wow, isn't it, you know, cool or whatever. So again, this is at an offset angle, which was the objective, is to, even though we're kind of doing an over the shoulder, we're not doing it where they are both facing the same direction. One's in one direction, one's in the other. This guy's gonna be like, you have to drink. He's kind of like, yeah. It's like, yeah. Oh no, this is really great what's happening here. Then we're gonna still have his face in the foreground a little bit. But then our lens length is gonna be a little bit longer. This guy's gonna be like, you worry too much. And then this guy's gonna, he's gonna ponder it for a second. Maybe we can see him a little bit, the other guy a little bit in the foreground. It's gonna be like, well, I gotta get to the offset walk, so I gotta rush through this. He's gonna be like, eh, maybe you're right. And he's gonna get up. And stand up. And go out that way. He's gonna stand up. And then for this guy, he's leaning up against his chair. We're gonna see him in the foreground. And then he's gonna go that way. He's gonna go back around behind him. He's gonna be like, hey. It's like, where are you going? So that's gonna motivate this guy to go follow him so we can get our offset walk. And okay, cool. I'm gonna pause for half a sec. Oh. Oh, so yeah. Howdy in the comments. Yeah, today seems a bit chiller than usual. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. until the bombing. I don't know if you're talking about plot wise or just attitude wise, but yeah, it's a Friday, you know. I'm like, all right, let's get this scene done. I want to try this thing and see if it works. All right, cool. I just need to take a sip of coffee. Yeah, the prompts are two prompts I don't use very frequently. Actually, what was it? Offset angle, I think, is a portion of the book that I've skipped every time I've ever read the book and gone through it. So it's like, oh, okay. This is something I don't usually do, or I don't usually think about. All right, let's get back to drawing. Okay, so I'm going to have this here's where they were. They were over here. You have a little set of steps. That's not how steps work. Okay, this is how stairs work. There's gonna be some sort of storefront or something. So what's gonna happen is character 1. I should probably center this a little bit more. Okay, I should probably character. So we're gonna move here. Character 1 is there. Character 2. Okay, sorry. Already messed up. This one goes here. And then he's gonna get to the staircase. His friend is trying to catch up. This guy's... I need a smaller brush. That is my problem. Maybe a 15. He's gonna be like, hey, bro. He's like, what are you doing? Okay, sorry, this is weird how this is all going out. That's on me. I think it's because I don't have onion skinning on. No, he should go over to here. Okay, so then we're gonna go over here. And he's still lagging behind. This guy is still walking. These guys can catch up. Now we're gonna have this where he's gaining, and then this guy's gonna speedily walk up to him. And then I think at this point I'm just gonna make the background fuzzy or really loose. So he's gonna be a little indifferent to the other character as he catches up to him. And so I'm gonna need to be brief with this just because I'm getting close to running out of time, even though I really should have several more panels because I took a break and I actually forgot to stop my timer. And so then for the offset angle shot, so here they are walking and talking, and the one guy's, you know, not paying too much attention to what he's saying. Then what we're gonna have is stuff like, you know, maybe people in the foreground, like or maybe like a tank or something, a sci-fi tank or something, you know, something to set the stage. You know, it's a hover tank with guns and stuff. Sorry, I'm not being too original here. Just things that are happening as they are talking that goes by to make the scene more interesting and feel like it's in an environment that's real. So there's gonna be like people in the foreground doing their things. Sorry, I am rushing this, but what was it, 15? So what's gonna happen? Yeah, sorry, so that was technically supposed to be my last panel, but I'm gonna give myself a little bit more time. Just cause. So actually we can use this tank moving by to motivate the camera to begin to shift across the street. So I'm just gonna draw these characters as like pawns. But what's gonna happen is, as they are walking and talking, because essentially they're gonna fill the same space throughout the scene. They're always just gonna fill this corner. And the camera, as it's getting closer to them, is also going to make it across the street. And they're gonna get a little bigger in frame. And then we're gonna be able to see that hover tank, or whatever the heck it was in the background. We're gonna see the long walkway, or the long path they've been going so far. And then what's gonna happen is, actually this is too low of an angle. They shouldn't be that big. And so then what we're going to end up with is a composition like this as they're walking and talking. Where the building is going to be on their right side. And hover tank, you know, soldiers, stuff like that. Maybe another vehicle. It's going to be on their right side, or left side, their physical right side. And people in commotion and stuff. And then, so this guy's still talking to him. He's still looking indifferent. It's like, wow, look at that. And he's like, And so, let's see. It's kind of how this would play out for an offset walk. Here's the tank. You see, I gotta be really quick with these drawings. He's like, wowzers, this is so cool. And he's still not looking at it because he's not really interested. And eventually what I'd want is they get far enough away from all of it that the one guy like actually eventually turns in the conversation and forces the guy who's really excited to like look him in the eye. And so then what it will do is it will create this weird pause in the conversation where like you'll be able to see once they get far enough in their conversation, so you see all the tanks and stuff like that there. You see maybe another building, maybe there's a tower or something here, something interesting, I don't know. But then that big ship that we saw will eventually finally be moving through, and it'll like fire a laser beam and it will create a huge explosion right on one of the characters' main like talking points. And you see this building that we've had in the background now can be used as a device to make it look like a line is in between them. Sorry, this is all very, very abstract. In terms of the drawing and the fact that I'm saying this is how the scene would kind of go. I know that's weird, but right now I'm kind of doing beat boards. So there's like going to be a big explosion behind them, and it's going to be when one of the characters says something. This guy, I guess, says something important. That's when there's going to be this big explosion, and so these tanks and stuff like that, they're also watching the explosion. They're not being hit by it. They're on the same side as the invaders. And then maybe when the explosion goes off, then like all these people in the background are like cheering, or they're like, yeah. So after the explosion, they'll all cheer. So here's a big and so it's creating this weird contrast where it's like everyone's happy and stuff like that. Or yeah, there's also people on the roofs watching. That's what there should be. So there should be people on the roofs watching this event unfold, and they're all cheering and clapping and stuff like that. And whatever this guy just said is he's gonna look back, because whatever his friend just told him made him recontextualize all this, and then he's gonna look back. So they're both gonna look, and then this guy's gonna walk away because he doesn't feel too good about this situation. So he's gonna walk off the screen, as this guy is still watching. And then he be like, wait. He's gonna realize that his friend walked away. He's gonna be like, hey, wait. He's like, hey, wait up for me. And then we can cut to some sort of new scene where they're walking down, I don't know, an alleyway or something like that. Somewhere that's more seclusive. And so he's like catching up to him in the background, and then, you know, the one character would eventually get into the foreground, and while the other character is trailing him. And then we can do the snap turn that I did the other day, where his friend catches up and tries to get in front of him, like this, where he's like trying to get in front of him, and then he's gonna put his like hand on his shoulder again. He's like, hey dude, where you going? And then this guy's just gonna walk right by him. He's gonna be like, wait, what? Why would you do that? It's like, come on, wait up. Okay, cool. I've already gone over time. Man, I really wanted to get a nice ending for this, but I think I already hit the main objectives of this. The main objectives were get the offset walk in, get the offset angles in, and both of those have been accomplished. So, what is this scene? Well, this can be interesting because I'm going to need to zoom in for part of this. So, and then I'm going to go through and flip it manually with the other method. Okay, we see a glass. There's some people in the background. They're all, you know, they're watching something that's happening off screen. Give me a second. I'm going to draw some of them in. All these characters, all these people sitting excited. They're watching something that's happening off screen. Hand reaches down, grabs the glass, lifts it. Guy takes a drink. Someone walks behind him. Just like puts his hand on his shoulder. He's like, oh. He's like, hey buddy, what you doing here? He's like, oh, nothing, just watching. And so he takes another drink. Then we cut to this angle where we see the guy sits down behind him. There's also people watching, and they're at some place that's high up. Here's this railing, so they're like I don't know, they're on a platform or something watching. So everyone's watching, and we can hear sounds off screen. It's like, yeah, blah 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 blah. I don't know. And then he's saying something that's important to the plot. And then this is when I realized it's faster to storyboard like this. Let's see. Oop. Yeah, okay. It's like, oh, blah 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 blah. He's like, yeah, I've been doing all right, but just kind of, I don't know how I feel about all this. He's like, man, what do you mean? He's like, oh, that's great. He's like, So you just worry too much. Or maybe he says something like, what could go wrong? And all these big explosions. People are cheering. He's like, it's great. We finally got the thing that's happening. And it's like, and maybe there's some other B plot that he's referencing. And then he's like, I don't know. And then he's like, yeah, maybe you're right. Okay. And he walks up and gets away. He's like, hey, where are you going? Like, this guy's following. He's like, oh, come on. So they're walking, talking, and some like hover tanks go by, and they're having their conversation. This guy's just trying, character 2 is just trying to encourage character 1. And you see more and more of the hover tanks. And as they're talking, you see the big ship comes back into frame, and it makes a big explosion. This guy's like, look, he's like, I don't know if all this is working out. I don't know if this is right. And like, there's cheering in the background. Yay, you know, whatever just got blown up. And they look back, and then he walks away. He's like, wait, what do you mean? And he's like following him. He's like, come on, man, stop. And he keeps on walking. All right, cool. That's the segment that I got done. Pretty all right. I definitely rushed it at the end. It would have been cooler to have this. I might even just add a panel here, just for clarity's sake, that this ship is coming in it isn't fully there yet. So then that way, there's a little bit of pause. Oops. Yeah. There. Gonna have the ship move in slowly. So then that way as they're talking, the ship moves in, and then it shoots laser, and then people cheer. Okay. I think that feels a little better. Either way, that's the gist of it. Yeah, offset walk and offset talk. Interesting combination. All right, well, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching. I'm gonna go get to work. See ya. Bye.